Okay, so we're going to continue with where we last left off. Hopefully the system don't shut down again. But yeah, well, we were talking about how the season has ended. Okay, the season of 2019, what happens from the celestial, the stars, the planets, the sun, its influence on us on Earth has transitioned. It's transitioned into another cycle, which is the 360 days, 65 days that we are counting, with the calendar, according to North American system and European system, which has colonized the world, which is using the Gregorian calendar, and there's so many different calendars, but we just want to get a real quick recording to get people to understand that the calendar that we were subscribing to back in Biafra, or West Africa, right now being called Nigeria, before it was called Nigeria, before the North Americans or the Europeans came in and fought and colonized the people, was based on our own seasonal changes, our seasonal transitions. And then, of course, December period is not winter time. Of course, the world knows about North America because North America uses massive propaganda, propaganda, marketing, and, pushing the agenda, their agenda, as their country and their system is superior to everyone else's, past and present, so this is the agendas that North America, European nations are projecting, okay, into this matrix, into this world. However, for the people who are still in the East and North or East Africa or West Africa, the seasonal changes when the people put seeds into the earth, okay, and the earth, the cosmos, the supreme architectural design of that matrix, that area, showers the land so the seeds can get fertilized and the earth can be impregnated. So the earth can get impregnated. The earth gets the nutrients from the soil, gets the sun, gets the winds, gets the beautiful moisture, and then within 3 months, within 6 months, people are yielding the fruits and the roots, the vegetables, the plants, the things that they will use to feed their family, and be able to trade for things that their family would need to keep this cycle going and keep their family growing. So this is just the basic foundation of life that happens every single year. So it's death and resurrection. Wintertime is death and summertime is resurrection. So in wintertime, right now, Jesus, Yeshua, Heru has been crucified, and he has resurrected, because Yeshua that got crucified was the Son, because the Son went down to the underworld, in which the underworld, it's waking up the dead, and then it resurrects the dead. It takes 3 to 4 months before the sun gets to 4 to 5, 6 months before the sun gets to the highest point of its brilliance, its radiance onto the earth once again. And in the process of doing that, if you planted your seed into the soil in Africa, and what the Africans in the West Biafra, in Biafra right now, that people were doing and still doing, and celebrating New Yam Festival, and that New Yam Festival is called Easter now, as in now the Jesus of the character Yeshua, or the ancient Kemetan character Heru, is the one that was sacrificed, and did all the work and shined so bright, and resurrected the dead, and and of course these are all symbolic, esoteric knowledge that supposed to be broken down by the adept, mind, adept reasoning mind, the mind that reads and studies and researches, not the mind that just goes in and get taught and preached and yelled at and screamed at by someone on a pulpit. But you go home and you do your own research and you investigate so you can understand the breakdown, not to think that it was someone or something outside of you, and it can only be that someone or something outside of you that is going through this process. But really, it's what we do to get to do within ourselves from having an awakened consciousness, and the consciousness of wanting more, for yourself. So we're transitioning into the death to the life procession, and this happens every year. And then how do you explain this to children? This begets the stories of a male figure called Adam, and then the female figure called Eve, just for the mind of a child to be able to configure in its psyche something to hold on to until it's able to digest and break down more technical terms. So, of course, and then the character of Joseph and Mary, all of these characters are really templates just for the child to be able to see something long enough to when he gets to a certain age, they'll be able to start to break it down with the other data that it compiled over the decades of life in the world, and studying and doing his own research. But of course, so we're moving into this new year according to North America, because not everyone in the world is subscribing to this tomorrow being this new year, 2020. Some people already had their 2020, and some people are still waiting for 2020 to come. So it's just specific for the people who have been taught English and the people who have not been taught their original state of living according to the area that they are in. So the area that you are in, it differs, because we have to realize that it doesn't snow. It does not snow in Africa, in West Africa. It does not snow in East Africa. Maybe you have to go up to the peaks of the mountains to ever catch snow, but we do not see snow. So we don't have a winter snow song and stories to tell our children, and it has never been, and it has never, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that people can experience this extreme state of ceaseness, of just death, of no growth, of course, a small percentage of things could be growing, but in terms of what's really going in the jungle, or if there was a jungle and if it was snow, things would be dead. All right, so that's simply put that. So now we transition into the life. We're transitioning into the resurrection, this Easter Sunday, which people will be celebrating again and thinking that it was someone who did something for them, not realizing that the thing that never failed and has not failed is this sun that is setting right now, and we will see it tomorrow, as it rise. And what it does for our environment, you cannot debase it. It can be debased. All right. So if you are not aware, which I remember once upon a time, the thought of harnessing energy from the sun was not feasible in the minds of the masses. Let's say the masses, because of course there were still some people who were able to visualize the concept of trapping the sun's energy and using its energy to power homes and power vehicles and power factories. There was people who had that in their mind, but now today it seems like it's common sense, right? It's something that is not far out the reach anymore. So now we just get to be aware and thankful that we are into this state of consciousness once again. Not to say that this state of consciousness wasn't, we weren't aware of this state of consciousness before. It was, of course, there was many delusions in our world. There's many schisms, and either if it's from a natural disaster, that mud flood, and disasters of earthquakes and tsunamis, things that nature, or asteroids smashing and volcanoes erupting, destroying civilization and destroying networks, and then someone who still had an inkling of the knowledge or inkling of the information comes into another environment with another language and starts to teach and educate those people in their language. And then, of course, if they choose, they can give the whole, arcana, to the individual or to the community that they just discovered, so that the individual can know how to rise, or the community can know how to rise once again into the apex state where, of course, the people fail due to either a natural disaster or a man-made disaster. But if the people chooses not to, give the people that knowledge, give the people that information, so they can rise their mental, physical, and spiritual state into the apex state of being, then we get what has happened in terms of, slavery in North America, and slavery in, that spread around the world, colonization. Colonization is that story. Colonization is the story of men not giving another man, after, not natural, but a war, that knowledge, that information of, it seems so simple, if you really think about how simple that this could really be. The sun rises and sets, okay, and it has its own movement around the constellation, around the cosmos. It moves in its own procession. Like Earth, we rotate around the Earth, and as we rotate, the sun rotates around a bigger star. And in the process of all of this cycling, we weren't the only ones. And of course, when I say we, people who speak English, we're not the only one who knew this information. English is a new language. It's not part of the ancient languages. And the ancient languages, they already mapped the stars, and they already knew all of this stuff and how these interactions move and connect with the inner specs of the body. Okay, the meridians and the acupuncture points. The people already knew this information. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, due to wars and confusions and disasters, natural and man-made, has separated men from this. But we are transitioning it. We're transitioning into the 2020 in terms of the numbers, being put together and clearing the vision for those who are aligned to see and even desire to see more and grow more into the knowing of what all of the cosmological connections means. And of course, as above, so below. As it's happening outside, it should be happening inside. As the sun rises in the east, it should be rising in the east and setting in the west within. So, that's biologically, we rise with the sun and then we set, and we should be in rest state, with the sun. So this is just our awakening to this. I like to speak into Biafra a lot, just to get the Biafrans, the North Africans, the South Africans, the Africans all over the world, you know what I'm saying? And everyone, Europeans all over the world, not just Chinese and Japanese, all of these one-dimensional state of thought, to be connected into themselves, themselves holistically. So this is the process. It's a real basic understanding that we are one with nature and the universe, and we are presented in this world as this physical construction. Okay, the construction of man, is the technology, and the construction of the Most High is the body. So the body rises and sets from the internal mechanisms and from the external mechanism, all have an interconnectivity with one another. And it's such a beautiful time of the year, you know what I'm saying? Like, we are transitioning to one of those epic moments in our lives once again, and to know that it's not the first time and it won't be the second time, that man either rises or falls and then rise again. So this is the time for that. And 2020, much love, sovereignty, pushing and, projecting that into this matrix for us all. So let's get it. And I'll be soon for the next vision, the next, let's say the next message.